You can't escape it. Even if you're thinking about sex, you're fucking going to hell because you're thinking about it, and that is sinful. I'm so excited to talk about this. Hello, beautifuls. My name is Giselle, co-host of the Strong Sunflowers podcast and founder of GS for Growth. And today we're going to talk about how religion ruined my sex life. Stick with me. If you have ever experienced religion and you've ever experienced sex, make sure you subscribe, like this video, share it to your friends, anybody going through this. But let's dive right in. I feel like I need to give you some background. So I feel like I've always been the third wheel with everything. I married my first boyfriend, so I never really dated prior to getting married, basically. And I would always just be the third wheel with all my other friends in their relationship. I became Mormon or part of the LDS church when I was about 12. That's when I got baptized. And a lot of the rules and things that they expected from you was easy for me to do just because they weren't a part of my life anyways. So I didn't do drugs, I didn't smoke, I didn't drink, I didn't do any of those things. And when it came to like waiting till marriage and all those things, it was also easier for me because I've always known and felt that I wanted to explore and feel this connection with my husband and try new things and explore with my partner. And I always thought that was something so beautiful to wait till marriage, where again, the naive mind, you know, when you're really young, and to wait till marriage and for you both to explore what sex and pleasure is together and kind of like experiment together. So I always found that so appealing. And even though, of course, I'm not a virgin anymore, but that's something that I still hold dear in relationships. Like, I love being able to be with one person. I'm a Scorpio, baby. Like, I'm a ride or die for that one person. Like, if you are my person, like, baby, like, a million men can be naked in front of me trying to give me the world, and I could care less, baby. I could care less. Just because when I'm in a relationship, something I learned is I'm very focused on that person, and like, we're a team, and you're stuck with me forever until you fuck it up. Respectfully. But yeah, I think I still love that aspect of being able to explore and get to know your partner and just you know, have fun. Just have a little fun. And I feel like getting married at 19 and growing up in such a religious background that always tells you there was never any like sex positive talk. It was all about like, sex is for procreating and you're starting a family and doing all these things, or sex is wrong and don't do it and it's sinful and you're going to hell. Respectfully or disrespectfully, because it only just created so much shame, anxiety, and guilt, and heavy on that guilt and shame. Oh my gosh, heavy on that guilt and shame. And I feel like after getting married, saying no for so long and feeling all these guilty, shameful feelings and emotions when it came to sex, it was really hard to transition from like, okay, now you're married, now go have a whole bunch of babies, go have all the sex in the world. And it's like, what like, there was no information, there was no communication, there was no knowledge about sex in general. And let's dig into that shame, guilt, and anxiety that religion has brought about sex. You know, sex is creative energy. If you know your chakras, you know, like your sacral chakra is all about creative energy, and so is sex. You can either be creating a baby or you can be creating other things. But one of those things is also you can be creating pleasure and passion. And I feel like when it comes to religion, a lot of the times, because of the negative connotations that everything that has to do with sex is talked about, like, for the most part, nothing good is talked about sex. You know, you either don't talk about it, and if you are talking about it, it's not in a positive light, you know? And this can bring deep-rooted anxiety and shame when it comes to our own sexual identity and pleasure and how we want to explore our bodies, and not being able to, because the shame and the guilt is multi-layered. I feel like it's not just the act of sex. By the way, before we move forward, I was at work the other day, and they know that my background comes from growing up in the Mormon church, but there's some things that I don't even know about. And this one girl was talking about being on TikTok and being exposed to like of what the LDS people do in different types of Christianity. And they were talking about like, yeah, they really think that if you just put the tip, right? and you don't move, that's okay. That you are still a virgin and that's not sin. And if your friend's on the bed, the way that she explained it was kind of wild. And if your friend's on the bed and they're jumping and it just happens to go up and down, like, that doesn't count either. Or even in just religion in general, like, because I've heard this from Catholics, I've heard this from regular Christians, I've heard this from the LDS Church, like, anal sex doesn't count. I'm like, yes, it does. Like, the point that you're trying to make, again, if we focus more on the part that the Lord, again, I believe in God, and I think what I have taken from this is that God just gives us this information and this knowledge. Hey, like, sex is sacred. I still believe sex is sacred, and I don't share my body with just anybody, because soul ties are real, and like the energy and the spiritual part of it is 100% real, and I don't share my body with just anyone because I don't want to share energies like that. But if we looked at it more of like God is just trying to lead us and guide us into a place that we can avoid some of the pitfalls of life, because I am so grateful for the church and I'm so grateful for God's guidance when I was in my high school years, because a lot of my friends did become teenage moms. A lot of things happen, like multiple things happen. And like from not drinking, from not doing drugs, like overdose being R word at parties, like not drinking, not hanging out with the different kind of crowds, all these things I'm so grateful for, because I didn't have to experience it, you know what I mean, the hard way. And I feel like if we talk about sex and more of like empowerment, like knowledge is power, then why is it that you should wait till marriage if that's what you believe in? It's more of like a spiritual thing. It's more of like what you're trying to create. And I know some Christians out there do think this way, and it's not so much of the shame and guilt, but I want to talk to the ones that do, because there's a lot of us, okay, myself included. Even though I knew God wanted what's best for me, there was still a lot of shame and guilt in that. And it's, like I said, it was multi-layered. So let's go back to what I was talking about. It's multi-layered because it's not just about the act of sex. It's about thinking about sex. It's about the M word. I don't know how censored YouTube is. The big M word. It's about even watching it, of course, if we're talking about the P word. All of these things correlating together and just making it like you can't escape it. Even if you're thinking about sex, you're fucking going to hell because you're thinking about it, and that is sinful. And also, let's talk about how a lot of this shame and guilt and all these things is put on women, because not only do we have all of that, but also being immodest in the way that we dress, and we can't show shoulders. Now I'm just like, baby, you get what you get. But I'm just saying, like, your ankles, your skirt is too short when it's like up to your knees, like all of these things, and putting the responsibility on women when men think of sinful acts or sinful things. And I know that this has been talked about numerous times on the internet when it comes to men acting like dogs. And again, it's not all men, but yes, some men acting like dogs and doing heinous things, and then blaming it on how the women was dressed or looked or whatever it is. Like at the end of the day, even in religion, they put a lot of emphasis on how women look and how we appear. And of course, it's all of our fault. If a man has a sinful thought, it's our fault because we're immodest and we're unclean and we're not pure and we're going to hell. So let's talk about why is it our responsibility, women's responsibility, to control men's actions and thoughts. Like it is not. So I feel like also that guilt of like, oh my gosh, even if you have a beautiful body, because you may be saying like, hey Giselle, your body is beautiful. Like there's nothing to be ashamed of that. But because of how I grew up and what was told to us, I was still a rebel. Always been a rebel. I would still wear Brazilian bikinis because I refuse to wear anything but Brazilian bikinis, because I refuse to be at the beach with grandma diapers. Baby, it's gonna be a no for me. But even with that, like I still felt like I was comfortable, being at the beach in a bikini. But when it comes to intercourse and being with someone, like I was still I still feel icky in my own body. I still didn't know how to let someone else in to my space. One, and we're going to talk about this, it's because I didn't even know my body. You know, the shame and the guilt and the anxiety that it was even just touching, caressing my own body. Like, we're not even allowed to do that because guess what? It's sinful and it's taboo and you're going to hell. All of these things. So like, and these are natural human emotions and experiences that we are curious about, like our body, even just touching our bodies. I think like, even when it comes to the M word, for the longest time, it was really hard for me because I didn't even want to touch myself. Now as an adult and more aware of what is sex and learning more about sex, again, knowledge, it's very important for us to know and explore our own bodies so we can communicate that with somebody else about what we like, what we don't like, how we like it, how fast we like it. Baby, you get the point. All of those things, but we can't communicate and we can't have a healthy sex life per se if we don't even know anything about, if we are scared to even touch our own bodies. You know what I mean? And I have a hilarious story for you guys that I remember when I think I was in high school. And sorry, mom. My mom would like leave and like, I think Josh Roman, unfortunately he has passed away. May he rest in peace. He was like the first guy I was like super obsessed with. I freaking love this guy. Like, well, I was obsessed with Brendan too. He also passed away. Oh my gosh, is this a pattern? Anywho, but I remember Josh and I were like in bed and he was like the first guy that I really like, you know, like crossed the border with, you know, still a virgin, crossing borders, but just like even being naked in front of someone, right? Still super awkward. Oh my gosh. But I remember like he was trying to go further than I wanted to go, right? Because I was just like borderline, just borderline. And I remember we were laying in my bed and I grabbed, next to my bed I had a Bible and I grabbed the Bible, and kid you not, some of my older friends and I still laugh to this day about this. I grabbed that Bible and I was like, I put it on my crotch, mind you. And I was like, sex is wrong, grab a Bible. And that was like the quote for like the next 2 years. I was like, sex is wrong, grab a Bible, do what you gotta do to stay pure and clean and all this stuff. So much is tied into it. And I feel like communication has definitely taken a hit because of the guilt and the shame that is around sex and religion. Oh my gosh. I feel like communication outside of the bedroom is really important. And it's even more important if you're trying to experience pleasure. I feel like because of the lack of information and guidance and exploration within ourselves, again, it doesn't have to be with anybody else, it's just within you, it's hard to even talk about sex outside of the bedroom because it's already such a taboo topic. And then coming into the bedroom, not feeling comfortable talking about sex. We don't talk about Bruno, no. We don't talk about Bruno. That feels so good. I've been sick for a little bit, so I haven't been able to sing, and I love singing. Good or bad, I love singing, so I hate when I'm not able to do it. But yeah, if you can't talk about it outside of the bedroom, what makes you think that you're gonna be able to talk about it when you're naked in your most vulnerable state in front of somebody? You're not. And like, you want to be able to lead and guide and direct your partner, and you can't do that if it's still a awkward pinpoint in the relationship, in the room. It's like the big elephant of like, oh my gosh, I guess we're doing this, like I don't know what we're doing. It's not a good time. But all that shame and guilt does trickle down to like not only your relationship in the bedroom, but other parts of your relationship because you can't communicate. I don't care what anybody says, I do believe that sex is a big role in relationships, you know, like romantic relationships. Like you want to be, it's like this closest magical space, vulnerable, where you literally, it's all about creation, connection. You are literally creating connection. You are literally creating little like synapses of like connections with one another when you share your body. It's a magical thing, and it can be a magical thing. But the lack of communication can definitely cause frustration and misunderstandings in the relationship, because if you, again, all these things, and I speak from experience of all these things that are in your head and you don't even know how to express them, and then you bring them into the bedroom and you don't know how to communicate, and they don't understand you, and then it creates this like, oh, you don't want me, oh, you don't love me because you don't want to do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, it's not that. It's just like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I still believe that our bodies are a temple, and that I want to share my body with someone that makes me feel at home, safe, secure, protected, loved, and really like a safe space. That's really important for me, to be able to let go, because even though I've worked really hard to let go of the shame and the guilt and the anxiety that it comes from coming from a religious background, I still need that safe space to be able to enjoy pleasure, because it's hard. It's already hard enough with all that background crap. I just need a space that I can just truly be vulnerable and be safe while doing so. So if religion has ruined your sex life, go explore. Go figure out your life. Go figure out what you like, what you don't like, who you like to do it with, if you want. I'm not saying to go out and sleep around with people, because I do not condemn that either. I feel like, again, you're sharing energies, and sharing your body with someone is something really special, and not everybody deserves that. But hey, you do you. You do you. At the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. But I definitely encourage like self-exploration and touching your body and learning from yourself what you like, what you don't like, and just building a new relationship with yourself and your body, so you can share it with someone else. Leave a comment below if you have similar experiences, if this related to you. If it didn't, share it to someone that it did. And I just hope you guys are living your most authentic life. And I'll catch you guys on our next video. Bye. Ciao.